Time has come for the first time to speak as witches and wizards and neophytes do. I'm Daniel Dubois.
I'm Michaela Stone.
And we're your hosts for the Think Like a Wizard podcast. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 1, A New Era. And so, what do I mean by a new era? Those of you who have been listening since the beginning, you know Season 1 was me just basically doling out information. Season 2, Michaela joined it, and we have conversations now. And Season 3, we're going to start bringing other people in on conversations. And that's where the neophyte comes in. So a neophyte is usually someone who is new to either religious or spiritual mystical practice. For our podcast purposes, yes, it does line up with that, especially today. But it's about someone who's new to this, coming on the podcast and speaking. And we'll just jump right into it, and I'll introduce our neophyte for this episode, Willa MacQuarrie. Say hi, Willa.
Hi, how's it going?
So I brought Willa on because Willa is a good example of someone who is fresh to opening up spiritually. So today we're going to pick her brain, she's going to pick ours, and we're going to see how that helps you guys listening who are starting to jump into this world. So I guess to start off, what was that, Michaela?
This will be interesting.
It will. So we'll start off. Willa, do you want to give a bit of your background?
Yeah, so I started off with a very scientific-based background in terms of everything. So I really honestly didn't think about much of this stuff, even though I've known Dan for a good chunk of my life. But something happened fairly recently. It was actually the Thanksgiving weekend for October.
Yes.
So in case you guys don't know, in Canada has our Thanksgiving in October. A lot of places don't know that. So, but yeah. So what ended up happening was I went to pick up some desserts for the weekend, and there was a crystal shop next door. And I didn't think anything of it. I picked up dessert and everything, and I put it in the car, and I sat there, and I'm like, well, I don't know why, but I went in the store. I started looking at the bracelets and stuff like that, and I wound up picking up two of them. One was amethyst, and the other one was opal. And I've had the labradorite one on my necklace for a while, and I didn't think anything of it as I grabbed them, but I grabbed the amethyst one right away, but for some reason the opal one kept drawing my attention. And I don't know why, but I picked it up along with it. I got in the car, I started driving down. And all of a sudden, it was like I was wearing a hat, but I wasn't wearing a hat. Like I felt like I was wearing like a tight baseball cap. And my head was warm, and I was like, what's going on with me? What is happening? This is really weird. And this happened like about probably 30 minutes, almost 40 minutes into the drive. And I threw the braces on right away, and I had all three of them on. I'm just driving. And it was really throwing me off. And I had no idea what was going on. I was a little bit freaked out at first. And I was like kind of hoping Dan would be there. That way I could talk to him about it. So I wound up getting there and everything. And for some reason I felt like really, really relaxed too at that point in time. Like I was just really, really relaxed, and we just wound up talking normal. But then I wound up convincing him. Well, I didn't convince him really. I just kind of mentioned it. But yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so Will and I are related. We're cousins. And so her grandmother, who's my aunt, had invited us over for supper. So I went over there and we were having a conversation. And as per usual, we were getting kind of loud. So her grandmother kind of looked at us and we were like, all right, find a new place to talk. Gotcha. Which ended up being the opening necessary. And then we went to my place because I just lived 2 houses down from my aunt. So then that's where she started to tell me about her experience. But just to add to it, right? I wasn't going to go because I was invited. Well, so not that I wasn't going to go. I was invited, and it was that thing of you're going no matter what happens. My plans were up in the air, but by the afternoon, I was like, no, I'm going. It doesn't matter. But was originally not really going to go. So just to give you an idea of how this kind of works out. So go ahead, Willa.
Yeah, so thankfully, he was there. I was really relieved when he was, but then we got that opening and we wound up going to his place. Went down to the basement and we started chatting and I brought up the fact that for some reason it keeps feeling like I have a hat on my head and it just feels really weird and like I start I'm feeling more than just that now, but it was just really odd feeling and I'm like, am I going crazy? And I literally did not know how to really kind of define this. And then then he mentioned,
Yeah, well, yeah, I was gonna say, so yeah, Michaela probably actually what I want to throw to you to Michaela for a second is like, so my figuring was right, her crown chakra was opening because I know for me when it opens, that's what it feels like I'm wearing a hat. And then but as I was sitting there, right, I could sense the flow of energy around her, and so I could feel it was opening, and then it migrated to her third eye, or the I know there's a name for this one other than the third eye, but and then it started
Well,
opening.
in human design, what
Yeah.
you just pointed to was the ajna.
That's
or
the one I'm looking
mind.
for.
Yeah.
Imagine that. That's the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
yeah.
So,
So after that, he's just like, just he gave me some advice and such as, don't just go for the ride. And I did. And it's progressed further at this point. Now I get ringing in my ear when it starts going on. I get this like buzzing sound in my ear and stuff like that. And it's in both ears. And it goes, it's not like, it's not tinnitus or anything because it's not something I've ever had before, but it just, it's just like like low, not, it's like a high pitch humming type thing.
Hmm.
And
actually, yeah, when she first mentioned it to me, I started hearing it. I was like, okay, I got you. I know what you're hearing now. But that's what I told her. Like, it's uh, it's not uncommon because I get it too sometimes when I'm just sitting there and I start focusing on the energy around me. I'll hear it too. But that could also be the background noise. But you've never listened to it before, then
but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry, regardless though, it's like
Yeah.
it kind of shifted my whole view on this because again, I was one of those I have to have facts and stuff in order to view it. But now it's just like now I'm more believing in this than ever before, and it's kind of really shifted my perspective. And when don't go ahead.
What is your science background?
I don't have a like I just did a lot of self-study stuff like I did a lot of science stuff in school, but like I do a lot like I did robot programming for a while.
Okay. No,
So
I was just curious because I also have a science background, but the way I view what we're looking into right now is part of a continuum. So science is this side, the stuff that people like to refer to as woo, or somebody was saying this morning, esoteric. Okay. Whatever label you want to give it, it's part of the continuum. Human beings go the full range. And if you get stuck in the I have to have cold hard evidence even, then that's one end of the spectrum and the other end gets neglected. And what you've just done is you kind of shimmied on up the spectrum there to the other end, which is very cool.
It is. It was a weird experience and a weird feeling to have that. But then yeah, but it's been an eye opener. It really has. And now I'm kind of like you said, seeing both ends of it. And when I went back into the crystal shop, even it was a really different experience because I just felt more energy in that place than I ever did before. And it's still really weird getting used to the whole situation that's been going on, but like I feel more and I'm also more relaxed at the same time, if that makes sense.
You know what
So
can be fun to do is when you are drawn to a crystal, find out, I mean, sure, go for it because you're drawn to it, but find out what are its characteristics and how does it work with other crystals? Because that can give you some information about the path you're being drawn on. And I'm sort of sitting here smiling to myself because right above me I have this flame, it's called.
okay.
And as you're talking, I keep looking up and there it is looking at me. So the thought that comes is going into crystal shops is it's like having a tattoo. You can't have one.
I'm noticing that. It's starting
Yes.
to become a little bit of an addiction. Um, but yeah, just to add to that fact, like I have been actually self-studying a little bit. I bought a book on crystals and I started reading up on them. And it's funny because the labradorite in the book says it was the higher crown and the crown and third eye, and then the amethyst for spiritual awakening, and then crown as well. Like so, I'm like, oh, so I just like double kicked the door, and I looked up opal, and it's supposed to balance and center as well. So like between all of those, it like I think pulled because again, I just was drawn to them at the time, and I think between all of them, it just kind of opened that door.
Yeah, I joke that it sounds like when you read far too many comic books or see kids' cartoons about people developing superpowers, it's like you kind of just happen to randomly put all the things you needed together to cause an opening. But I would argue that you were already starting before your crystal experience.
Yeah, I would also say that's not random.
Yeah.
That was very curated even the selection there that Willa just mentioned. Those are very specific. So it's synchronicity is a word that's very useful. Like
Right.
it's besheret in Hebrew, meaning it's meant to be. Yeah, it's a thing.
Like I had no idea what I was doing at the time, and I'd only just started reading about it after the fact, and it's like, oh,
Right.
so how'd that one happen?
Right. And that's what I mean by it was curated, not by you, for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want the listeners who are listening to this, sorry, Willa, to
Well,
to kind of pay attention to this what we're saying right now because so Willa out of the blue picked these or had one stone already and picked these two stones, and they were exactly the stones needed to cause her chakras to open. Like like the odds, right? Against it. Like I haven't done the math, but I would imagine just someone with no clue what to buy, getting what exactly was needed to cause an opening. Yeah, so I would imagine it would had to have been curated to give you that push you needed.
I think that goes with crystals, honestly.
Yeah.
I really think it does. Um, about 6 months or so ago, I very randomly had some really awful stomach pain. Like I was just doubled over and I had a lot of pain, no idea why. And my husband was looking very sort of concerned and he disappeared for a minute and he came back with a huge amethyst and said, "You need that, it'll take the pain away." And I'm just kind of looking at him like, okay, all right. And you can argue placebo, etc., whatever you want to do, but the pain went away. So that was great because I didn't want to ingest anything. I felt like I'd be, physically sick if I did. So I was really stuck. And we have a lot of crystals in the house, and he just produced this huge amethyst. And then, yeah, it worked. It was what I needed. So. Now, how he knew is another question.
But that's the joys of moving forward in this world,
Right.
especially on this end of it. But it's funny, right? Because on this podcast, we discuss a lot of things, even from trying to adopt that kind of a scientific experience, right? Because I have a tech background, and Willa has human behavior and all that kind of behavior analysis and all that kind of background. So we're not, you having that background does not exclude you from the spiritual side. In fact, that's almost par for the course, I would think. Anyone
Well, I think
jumping
it's a
in.
balance. I think it's when you're getting things into balance, because if you're all spiritual and nothing grounded here in the physical plane, then you're out of balance just as much. And having access to that whole continuum is, I like to think it's the way to go. It's the way for me to go. So, and having access to all those different things at different times. Like I've just started, I wasn't going to, but I felt really, really called to do this. So I am studying neuroscience. I'm right back
Or
into brain and behavior in more depth, and I'm having the best time. It's hilarious, it's cracking me up, but it also, the Dutch guy that's teaching it, he has a very offbeat sense of humor, and it totally works with how I operate. But he's also tying in a lot of things he doesn't realize he is, but he's tying in a lot of things that are more spiritual into brain and behavior and neuroscience, and the connections. I'm just having the best time with it. I love it. So it's like my new hobby, and I'll be down that rabbit hole for at least a year. It's just, I wasn't going to, and here I am. So and I
yeah,
actually looked it up. Like I looked for this. I started a search. I need something, and where is it? And then, I had a lot of degrees popping up. Go this university, go that one, and I didn't even read them. I was just like, nope, 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 nope. What's that? And found the one. So, and it's not a degree. I don't need another degree. That's not interesting to me. The certificate isn't interesting. It's the knowledge.
yeah. I was
And
gonna say,
It's just a piece of paper, right?
yeah, I was gonna say, what's your count at this point, anyways, for degrees?
My count,
Yeah.
degrees of 4, certificates, I don't know. The standing number is like 40 plus, but it doesn't matter. It's just
Yeah.
pieces of paper that say I studied a thing, and I like to learn. So yeah.
Well, I was gonna say because that's probably what you have to look forward to is you'll probably have an increased desire to learn at this point, especially in the next year.
Oh
You have
yeah,
to
the
kind of
more that
look forward
opens
to it.
up, the more that opens up. So, and whatever you feel called to go find, it'll be there. It's just finding it in the format you want it in. Because, the pieces of paper literally, yeah, people place all kinds of stories on them, but, it means this, it means that. No, it doesn't. It just doesn't. It just means that you can take tests, right? So, yeah. That's
Well, I
not
was
the
gonna,
important part. It's, do you
yeah.
want to know the thing? And diving into crystals? Ooh, and if ever you feel called to look at working with Lilith, for example, I have a place I can direct you to. So, there's so many different things that can come up. It's just like,
Yeah.
honestly, at this point, I've been really curious and into just studying everything at this point about it, like just everything I can get into, because it's just now my curiosity is like piqued because again, this is something I never thought I would experience to this degree. And it's like, okay, now what have I been missing? What is really there? It's really at this point, I just want to keep on learning what I can. And that's why, like, I read that whole book of crystals before I even got on here. I've been actually listening to your guys' podcast, trying to get caught up now. I got up to again, I'm on episode 8 now, but yeah, no, like at this point, I've just started really trying to get in and learn all I can about this because it's just such a new thing, but at the same time, it's like really piqued my curiosity. I want to know.
What was I gonna say? So you've had a few weeks to sit with it for a bit now, and I had started to, but we decided not before Michaela came on. We talked a little bit, but so what's changed for you so far?
Besides some of those physical things that have been going
Yeah.
on, I've just been more, I guess, receptive to feelings around me. I get just like, I guess the energy is more around me for the most part. Just, um, I've noticed my cat has actually been more receptive herself. Like I like before she would do, she would just do her own thing, and like she did cuddle with me, but like now I can like hold up my arms, like I think Dan saw earlier, hold up my arms. She came
Hmm.
right to me and just jumped in my lap. And I don't know if that's related or not, but I feel it sounds like it is. Like, but anyway,
Well,
I'm
yeah.
still in the process of like trying to put this all together. So all new.
Yeah. Well, there is a once you become aware of how things flow around you, you also start to become better at working with the flow around you. And that usually has a side effect of making other living things more comfortable around you, provided you're balanced in yourself. Whatever your emotions are, if you're feeling affectionate, then the people around you will have more affection. If you're being nervous and scared, then the people around you will be more nervous and more scared. That's already a natural thing, but when you also can work with flow better, you also add that extra impact on it. So there is actually the more in flow you become, not the more charismatic you become, but because charisma also has a certain way of behavior. But yes, the more you are attractive to other people, not in the purely like romantic sense, but whatever. Like people are be more drawn to you. That's
I'm just
the
sending Danielle some pictures of. I have three grey cats that look a lot like yours, Willa. So I'm just looking for them. There's one, and then
Oh,
Daniel can
here we
send
go.
them to you.
here. I'll
Just for fun. We
No, of
have
course.
five dogs and five cats,
yeah.
so there's a lot. But our biggest cat looks just like yours, and his name is Arnie.
Arnie, nice. Mine's Himiko. So
Arnie, as in Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm. Schwartz and Kitty.
Yep, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
now I just imagined a Terminator cat.
Uh-huh. Exactly. Well, when we first got him, he could fit in the palm of your hand. He was this tiny little thing, and our biggest dog was probably 150 pounds at that point, and the dog kind of came up, sniffed him very carefully, and
There's one of them.
there's one of them. That's Molly, I think, and he sniffed him very carefully, and the cat fluffed up as much as he could, and then sort of
So
hissed
cute.
at the dog who
I'm
lay down
showing
in
just
the
for the
bed.
people listening. I'm showing the pictures that Michaela sent.
Yes. Two of the grey cats. The one that looks just like yours is hiding in the photos somewhere. But anyway, I'll find that too. That's just an aside, but I saw your cat and I'm like, yeah, I have that at home.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
she's
funny.
she's my fur child.
Yeah.
So
All right. So I'm not picking up any flow, so it's one of you guys. I wonder if it's for Willa, but she's not picking up yet. She's not there yet.
I don't know. I mean, what would you like to bring forward in the podcast? Or actually, Willa, do you have any questions that I don't know one of us might have an answer to, or at least a direction for?
um when did you guys start like well, I understand like Dan's been for a long time, but like I'm at a weird point where again I'm hearing the ringing. Like right now even I'm hearing ringing, but it's like it's not it's just like right here just going right now.
Yeah.
And I can't make a heads or tails of anything of it. But I'm just wondering like that whole how do you interpret some of that? Or what could that Like when do you start like piecing together like the actual, well,
What's going on?
yeah.
Okay, that is definitely for Daniel to answer because I don't get that response.
So for me, first I'll say that ringing is background noise, like of like when I'll put it this way, when the sun sets and you're outside, you notice how your eyes get kind of a digital sensation, like it's kind of like everything's kind of pixelated, for lack of a better way of expressing it. Almost looks like there's particles around, not brightly, but like while your eyes are adapting.
Okay.
You're adapting to the sounds behind you, like now there's a spiritual tone around you that you're adapting to. Because hearing plays a big role in my spiritual sensing as well as touch. Sort of like I said before, I have like a radar. I kind of converted it into a radar sense to make it easier to work with. I used to have like the whole gambit. I used to see auras. I used to actually directly see spirits. Like, but now I'm just more aware of their presence, and then my mind eye just resolves the rest of it. But it's their presence that it's more like a radar at this point for me. But so I was very young. I mean, like I can definitely say 6, but I could definitely go younger. But 6 for sure, I can give you a straight on. This is 6 years old. This is where I started having prophetic dreams. This is where I started to really be aware of presences. This is where I really started to know what people were talking about before they even said anything. But or I'll give you my earliest memory, and also this is where in retrospect, I knew how sensitive I was. I cannot deal with people saying happy birthday. I can now, but at that time, it just felt like an assault. It was like as if everyone's energy was just rushing at me because they were singing at me, right? And their intentions were directed at me. And it's actually one of my earliest memories. It's just get the hell all your energies back away from me. I'm being overwhelmed.
Interesting.
And that's one of my earliest memories. But from then on, right, I don't know what to compare it to. It's not like I had deep conversations with people about it. So,
Yeah.
and I would have a sense of there were people I wanted to stay away from, and there were people I wanted to go to because of how they flowed. But again, not knowing how to describe it.
Mm. That's a
But
big thing, is not knowing how to describe certain things.
yes, well, that's the big one. There's going to be things you don't know how to describe for a while. Just that's natural part of it. One of the big things is that your subconscious mind has to adapt. Like when you watch, you see this especially with like science fiction or fantasy or superhero stuff. When the people first become aware of whatever it is, the changes become them. First time someone becomes a vampire, the first time someone gets superpowers, first time someone is turned to a cyborg, they're trying to get their emotions under control, and they're trying to learn to master their abilities. The big flaw is that it's your subconscious that needs to understand it. You can consciously be as whacked out as you want. Once your subconscious knows how to deal with it, then that's what you want. You want your subconscious control. And right now, that's what's happening with you. Is your subconscious is trying to process all of this. And so, yeah, that's why you're getting the ringing. Because the ringing only comes when you talk about it, or if I sit down with myself and I let everything get really quiet, and then I start focusing on it, then I hear it. But it's not normal anymore. It's that that phenomena. You ignore what you don't need to know. You get nose blind, or
Yeah.
you can ignore sounds and sights, and you can, as we talk a lot about on here, is that mailbox example where you start cueing what you want to know about and ignoring the
That's
rest.
in quantum mechanics, that's basically the field of possibilities, and your vision is distorted, you delete, and it changes. So think of a map of Ontario, for example. Does a map of Ontario actually look like Ontario? No, there's things missing. There's things that look different on the map, but you know what it's supposed to be. It just includes certain things and it excludes others. And that's what you're doing with the field of possibilities, because there's all sorts of things out there. And if you think of Oh, look at that. I found an opportunity to go to politics again. If
Yeah.
you look at politics, right? If you're very right-leaning, then you will find all the things to verify your position, that this is correct, this is the right way, everybody else is an idiot, and and this is how it has to be. Exactly the same thing happens if you're left-leaning. And both sides are absolutely, utterly convinced that they are bang on correct. And they yell at each other, but there's no point because then there's in two different camps, in two different realities. And each group are bringing in the field of possibilities according to their lens. So they're looking for, it's confirmation bias, it's all these things that basically work with your worldview. And so the person on the right, they're correct. That is their experience of life. That is exactly how it goes. The person on the left, same thing. It's exactly how it goes. That is correct. And so this is why nobody ever persuades anybody else that they're wrong and you need to think this way, because that doesn't jive with the vibration, the field of possibilities that they're focused on. And you can change. Yes, you can switch from one to the other, but not because somebody else told you to. That's because you deliberately deconstruct your own view and then open to what's possible elsewhere. And you can do the same thing in the field of spiritual work. Like, okay, you come in with some ideas about what it looks like and what it is, what it isn't. And if you can deconstruct that and put it to one side and then say, okay, well, that's what I thought. Now, what is it? What's possible? And then the more you can just kind of sit and let it come to you, or you might need to walk and let it come to you. Everybody has a different way of getting that. Movement is often a good thing. So as long as you don't have to focus on it too much, right?
Yeah.
It's an automatic thing, but all these insights start to drop in, and then you get the idea of where you want to go next, what you want to do next. And typically, I gotta say, my experience is it's not what you think it is. Whatever it is that you're going to do next, it's not what you think you're going to do next. It's something completely different. And being open to seeing that is the key.
Yeah. That's a really good point, Michaela. Because it's true. You're gonna find yourself in the beginning hampering yourself a lot because you have expectations. You're gonna look at what you've seen in fiction, what you've heard people tell you, what you've heard through different religions, what everything everyone's told you. You're gonna have these perceptions, right? Like, and I'll give you a good one actually. So you've seen the X-Men, you're familiar with Professor X. Well,
Yes.
telepathy is portrayed, right? It's crystal clear. Surface thoughts are the easiest things to read, and if you try to go deeper, it's hard. The reality is it's the opposite. It's actually easier to find out what people are trying to hide because that's what they're focused on. So that's where the most energy is. So that's the easiest thing to lock onto. And surface thoughts are so shallow and they disappear so quickly, it's hard to actually follow a train of thought. So I was going to say, because I was going to add a crystal story into that, where I had first time I worked with crystals was I picked one and I was able to read my teacher's mind, the whole class. So, but surface thoughts are harder to pick up on because there's not much energy invested in them. But the deeper thoughts have a lot of energy invested in them. So those are actually easier to read. So just to give you an idea of expectations, right?
Yeah, no, you were mentioning something like that too, where I need to pull back and just
Well,
uh
and that's why we
yeah.
didn't interview you right away when it started, because I was excited and I told Michaela too, yeah, oh my God, there's a new one, fresh meat, but it's like you need time to sit with it. And there's a very practical reason, right? Like maybe you have tetanus and that's why you're getting there. So that's why I kind of wanted to let you sit with it for a bit, see where it brought you, what inspired you, maybe if you had weird dreams or you felt, kind of, well, I always use the word compelled along to go and, well, and you started looking into crystals, right?
I started really wanting to look into that, but also at the same time, I was listening to one of the episodes, and it was actually on the Tuesday when I messaged you,
Mm-hmm.
and I really felt for some reason, I really felt the need to say yes at that Tuesday. And even though I wasn't listening to you guys live or anything, you said you guys just did a recording.
Yeah.
Like after I messaged you, I'm like, wait, what? So I don't know what that was, but it was essentially something, I felt like the need I had to say yes that day, and I did, to do this. Again, I did, and then you messaged me again right afterwards that it was like, oh yeah, no, we just finished recording.
Yeah, we just finished the cinnamon ritual
Ah,
episode.
the special request,
Yes.
which was fun. That was a lot of fun. So one of the things that I think comes up in all the different parts of that continuum is giving up. The common theme is giving up the need to know how something's going to work or how something's going
Okay.
to look. Because how is a path, and there are a million paths. If you choose one and decide that that's your how, you're missing all these others that could be so much better, but you don't know because you can't see them anymore. You're looking at the one that may or may not work. So it's something we are raised from early to know how something's going to work. How are you going to do that? How are you going to get here? How are you going to da, 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 da? These are the questions we're asked, but it's not actually important. What you need to know is, where are you going? Like, what do you want? And if you're on a journey to discover what there is to discover, that's a really open place to be. Selecting one path of how, like I'm going to do everything through crystals, or I'm going to do everything through reading books, or whatever the thing is, there's no judgment on that other than to say, that's one way. What else is there? And you might want to play in a lot of different areas at different times. So being open to whatever calls to you, and it could be nature, it could be, a walk in nature, it can be water, it can be essential oils, incense, like a gazillion things. And, I like to keep my playbook open. So I have an eclectic approach, which means it'll be whatever it is that day.
Speaking of incense, actually, I had gone back to the crystal shop and picked up some, and I started using them as of last week, Thursday. So,
Quick tip with the incense, be careful with your cat because some of it's toxic to your cat.
okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'll have
So
to look
check
into that.
that out. And if you listen to the cinnamon ritual at some point too, I do mention in that you have to be very careful. It's toxic for cats. There's a lot of things that you're likely to be drawn to that actually you have to watch out for your cat.
Okay.
Yeah, so good thing to check on because you might not think it, but it's they're very sensitive. Their respiratory systems are very sensitive and they're likely to get sort of issues breathing, basically.
Okay. The other one
And so
what? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is why it's important to talk to more than one person,
Yeah.
because I would have totally forgot about that because I don't have any pets.
Yeah, well, we have so many that we're very keenly aware of it, and we have one cat who has a bad habit of eating plants that he shouldn't, and we've had emergency deals with him before now. So we have to stay a step ahead, figuring out, okay, what do we have to get rid of now? So for example, flowers, lilies, the pollen from a lily can kill a cat. It's literally like what?
Really?
Yeah. They just stick their noses in there and sniff, and that can kill a cat. So you really have to know what's in your environment. And the more you branch out and try different things, just remember that step of checking in, like Google it or something to just see, is that safe? And if it isn't, you can still do it. Just do it where your cat isn't going to be.
Right.
Okay. No, I'm
So
definitely
now,
going to look this up 100%.
yeah. So now I understand why I was being blocked from saying something. So what I was going to say was earlier on was play. Play like you're a child. Absolutely
Mhm.
embrace it like a child would embrace something new. let wherever your imagination takes you take you. But you're right. That caveat was very important to have out there. If I'd have just told you to go out and play, right, and you hadn't considered Kimiko, that's the name of her cat, you would
Well,
have,
it's not
you know,
obvious.
yeah.
It's not obvious unless you know, right? It's one of those things. It's once you know it, okay, you can't not know it. But if nobody ever tells it to you, there's no reason for you to know.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
No, exactly. And the one that I did burn was sage, so it seems like it was okay. So
Sage is a good cleansing.
mhm.
Yeah, that's very good for balancing things out and cleansing. So, yeah. I always keep mine handy. There you go. There's mine. Within reach.
That mine's over there on the, I cleared off a shelf and I just kind of put it there, and so I put like my two other crystals. So
Mhm. Be careful, you might end up with an altar at some point.
I was just thinking of an altar, funnily enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that can change on seasons, that can change on what your focus is. You can have so much engagement with that. I was going to say fun, but it's a little more in depth than fun. I mean, yes, there's fun in there, but it's you can be very engaged with what are you focusing on? What are you bringing forward? What do you want to investigate? And the altar can be a part of that because crystals do have power. I mean, I've been asked many times, they're rocks. What do they have? Well, get yourself a Geiger counter that reads radiation and go pass that over some granite and then come back and tell me how you did because there's radiation there. You
Mhm.
know, the diamonds do a lot of cutting. There's a lot of power in crystals that we use all the time. People just don't recognize it. And then there's power that, it's hard to quantify, but it's there.
yeah, no, I actually do have a friend who is they identify as a witch. So it was actually really funny when I did mention that I had cleared off a shelf and they were pointing that out. They're like, "So you're starting an altar?" I'm like, "I don't know.
Maybe, who knows?
Maybe
It
it."
kind of looks like it from what I can see from here,
Yeah.
but no pressure. I mean, it's whatever you end up doing.
Oh, I was going to share, just to give you an idea of weird experiences you can have with crystals. That same experience, one of the things that happened when I took the crystal in hand is essentially I went down a bit of a, how to say, I went through the looking glass a little bit. The crystal revealed like its inner world. And then after it kind of revealed its inner world, then I was starting to pick up on the thoughts of my teacher as she was telling stuff. Like, so I was always a step ahead of her of everything she wanted to say. And because at one point she was looking at me and I'm like, yeah, I know I'm ahead of you. She goes, yeah, I know. She says, you know, because she was aware I was having that experience at the same time.
I think
So crystals can bring you down paths you may not be ready for.
the
Or
key takeaway though is it's different for each
yes.
person because my experiences are not like Danielle's, which is why we can have these conversations so
Yes.
well because we're coming from different angles, but you know, we're all playing in the same sandbox. We just have different tools. So
And that's the important part of it. It's like it's actually the whole point of this season. Actually, we're going to bring people in with we're playing in different parts of the sandbox to give people a perspective. And again, that's why we wanted to start with you because you're totally new.
Oh,
Everything is
100%
new for
news.
you in this. And
Yeah, no.
you're at the joy part of it too, where it's like, oh, it's new, it's exciting, like a little kid discovering a new toy. So I want everyone who's new to see that it's not just them having these experiences. There's, as Michaela points out, might not be exactly the same, but the fact is there's things to kind of pay attention to that you can see and that they're not weird just because they're having these experiences. Like, and Michaela and I started young. Like I said, I even as far back as early as I can remember, but like I said, solidly I can remember six being definitely in it. And I can't remember
yeah,
what you were at. Yeah, you were at least high school, right?
yep, Yeah, no, I was quite young too. But something that comes up that I just want to say for Willa and also anybody else that's listening is be wary when rules start to come up, either your own that you create or somebody else tries to tell them to you. Like there's the threefold rule your friend in witchcraft is likely to be familiar with. That is it's a takeoff, if you will, of the Catholic Trinity. It has no place actually in witchcraft. That said, if it makes you feel comfortable, okay, but just know that that's not anybody else's rule. There are no rules that people create. It's like you'll figure out, yeah, I want to do more of that. No, I really don't want to do that again. But it's not a rule, it's your experience. And that's, I think, very important to know. I belong to a few groups where every now and then somebody will ask for some tips on baneful magic or dark. And you get a whole bunch of people jumping in with their opinions and mundane answers and tut tut tut. And it's like, no, that's not the point. If you have an answer and you want to give it, go for it. And if you don't, keep on moving. You don't have to be involved. But it's that rules can it's like stumbling on rocks on your path. The rules can really get in the way and they don't serve a purpose. They're not helpful, they're not necessary. It's not a religion. It's a path
The
in
way of being.
life.
Hmm.
Yeah. So you
Just like,
don't need to look for those rules.
yeah, I was going to say, just like walking or running doesn't really have rules. There's things that enforce themselves if you don't do it right, but there's no rules to it. You walk the way your body needs you to walk. You move the way your body needs you to move. It's going to be the same thing with this. You're going to move with the flow, the spiritual energy, the way you need to move, the way your body works, the way your design works. So even if I tell you what to do or to give you like a list of A to Z of things to do, A and R might be the only things that work for you in the way I tell it to you. So
Yeah,
you have
it's
to
like
see where
that
it
path
takes
I
you.
was talking about, where you've got all these different options, and if you select one and stick to it, then that's likely to bug you down in the wrong direction. And this is applicable for everybody, I think, that just let go of the need to have certainty in any of these places because it doesn't exist. It's a concept that's not actually going to happen. There is no
And
certainty.
yeah. I was gonna say, and I can vouch for that because that's one of the reasons why Michaela's been a good co-host for me is that coming off of season one, there's a lot of things I wanted to control, but when she brought the energy of don't control it, actually a lot of opportunities opened up for me otherwise outside of the podcast because I wasn't busy trying to figure out how to do it. I wasn't busy trying to direct things in a way that I thought it should go. So yeah, wherever the mood brings you, brings you. And I will add to what Michaela said earlier too, is that because you haven't hit that episode yet. So there's a difference between a gatekeeper and an intermediary. The intermediary is just there to help you while there's things you can't do. I had given the example of when I channel, I used to channel, you know, spirits of a certain strength, but as you go to higher, stronger spirits, they have more intensity, and that intensity is harder to deal with. So the intermediary kind of, to use electrical, right? It's a step down transformer. So they're there to help guide you, but they're not there to tell you what to do. They're just there to help you through the hard things. Whereas a gatekeeper, right, will be the ones telling you these are the rules. This is how you have to do it. You can't do this. You can only do that. Those people, I don't want to 100% say stay away because you can always learn from someone. Sometimes the things that people don't want you to know or the lies they tell you are just as revealing as the truth. But know that they're not your best way to go.
Well, it's a sense of security.
Yeah.
And notice I said a sense of security, not actually security. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example,
Yes.
Wicca is a religion, and they have a lot of very cool things that you can learn and you can practice. But it's a very organized group, and it's like belonging to a religion. It is belonging to a religion. It's the same thing. So if that familiarity is comfortable, then that can be a stepping stone, or it can even be a place where you settle. Again, no judgment on any of that, because that's your path, and you go where you want to go. But just sometimes I hear people say, well, what's the difference? Isn't it the same thing? I say, no, because the Wicca really is a religion, and they do have a set of rules. They've got a big book of rules, and witchcraft doesn't. So there's a lot of jokes around witchcraft where you see the, picture number one, there's the book, and you've been very studious and getting all the ingredients right and doing all the things, and it's perfect. The second one is like, well, I don't have that color candle, but I got that one, and and it's close enough. And the third one's sort of a cigarette, and you throw some salt over your shoulder or something, and that's close enough. And
Yeah.
it's the stages of getting comfortable with what you're doing, but also it's a shift from the process that's physical, that you're working on, to the intention, which is your point behind what you're doing. And the more you get into the intention, the less the physical stuff actually matters. I mean, if you're very aesthetically minded, then it might be something you want to do because you like that, but it's not necessary.
So at this stage, I just want to dive into everything that I can. Like I'm just,
Sure.
yeah.
It's fun to do, and I really, yeah, I think it's great to like test all the things, because you don't know what you're gonna like, and you might like different things at different times, which is how I operate. So, you might do that, or you might find a particular path, and you won't know till you try it. So trying all the things is good fun.
Yeah. Childlike openness and it well and yeah, it's good to have the word stopped like that on you. But a childlike openness, because when a child learns new things, that's their intention. I want to learn new things. And then they grab as many cues from their environment as they can to do it, right? When when you have whatever dolls or action figures, that's the perfect one, right? You start to act like your parents, to make the characters act like your parents, and you try to bring in as many details in your imagination so you can formulate your story for your figure. So yeah, that same kind of idea. And this is just an aside more for myself, I think, but I just think about how different it is to be where you are now. Because like even now you're seeing, right, how different things are than just where you were a few weeks ago. And we're decades in on it. So sometimes there's a forgetting what it was like before, at least for me. So sometimes when I'm teaching someone something, I'm thinking like, what was it like before? What were the things that might have actually scared you or made you nervous or made you, like, what can I say sometimes? And that might be overthinking it, right? And getting in the way of what needs to come out, which is why now I rely more on channeling than I do just me judging what to say. Because it's like okay, I've been too far from this. I'm too deep in. What do I tell
Well,
someone
that's
that's
the
not going to make them
thing.
scared?
That's the thing. You can't really say how somebody else's path is
Right.
best walked, right? You can just tell them the paths are there, and like, hey, I like this and I like that. You might want to look, but do you? There's plenty of online groups that you could find to explore, and I can send some to Danielle afterwards if you want to explore them. Um, and they all have different points, or different values, if you will. Um, yeah, so
No, definitely.
that can be fun to do, because then you get to explore with other people. There's one I'm thinking of in particular that they go in a bunch of different directions, and they'll have online group things as well as the stuff you can download and look at. Like they'll give you a lot of information. So I'll send you those guys. They're based in Germany, but very good. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd
no,
recommend.
like I said, at this point, I'm just whatever comes my way, I want to research and play around in it. see
I
what
think you'll
happens.
like these guys because they're very open to new people and people who are, just here to discover what's possible. It's a very gentle environment, if you will. There's nothing scary about these guys at all. They're for real, but they're not scary. So I think you'd like to at least check them out. So I'll send that to Danielle after.
Yeah.
It's funny you guys started this young, and I'm just picking up now in my 30s. So
Time doesn't matter.
Mm.
No, that's the thing, right? Because, well, you know my mom, Willa.
Yeah,
She only she's only now asking me for lessons and stuff like that, and she's in her 70s. Because she's basically, well, she's had her first experiences when she was young, but then she shut off from it.
I
A
know
lot of
that
people
feeling
do.
So,
in a different
and,
way, but
right, and now she's into it, and she's in her 70s.
okay. I
And
didn't know
actually,
she was starting that.
50 is when a lot of people actually open up because the reproductive phase is down. So now they have a time in their life where they can be advisors to their community, which would have been instinctual right back before we had the modern world we have now. So for some people, that's their time for opening up.
Well,
So
also, if you look at witchcraft, that's the time of the crone.
yes,
And the crone is the wise woman.
yes. Well, that's what I was going to follow up with next.
Hmm.
Was that it's the time of the
So,
crone if you're looking at witchcraft.
yeah. And that's the wise woman who, basically takes all the things that she's been learning in the different seasons and so on and puts that together and offers it as wisdom. So, it's a very rich time. People mistake it, but that's mostly because of Disney.
Yeah. So you're not too late. There's never too late.
No, no,
That's
no.
the part. It's at the time it needed to be.
Honestly, nothing in this life is too late. It just isn't. People have this very weird concept about what you can do at what age, and it's like, why? Said who? Why does that change?
No, I think that
Really
boils
weird.
down to something similar to, like you were pointing out that Disney, it paints like people have been telling people one thing for so long and vilifying other things that really aren't villains, but
Mhm.
it's whoever's been there's usually one side and another, and usually in the middle is the truth, right? And
Mm.
it's usually written by the victors. So,
Yeah, and when you look at sort of how witches, particularly crones, are depicted in things like Disney or Wizard of Oz,
Mhm.
look at the green face and the hook nose, etc., etc. But if you think of what happened to witches during persecution, they would be treated so badly that their faces are bruised and swollen and battered, and sometimes they're held underwater until they drown. And, their color's not too good at this point. These are elements that come forward in things like Disney, and people don't realize where that comes from. But it's actually not funny or cute or any of those things. Um, this is the abuse that wise women were meted out. And yes, Danielle, sometimes men too, but
We
generally
had
it
this
was the
discussion.
women.
Well, I think it was in the episode of the weaponization of victim or no, or did it follow that episode? Weaponization of victimization. Because we're also discussing, right? Even though a group is focused, like for the witch hunt, it was women. But you can go through and find a list of men who were also burnt as witches. But if you look at those people, there was a lot of senior and junior. So you can look at there was probably some inheritance issues. There was probably some land grabs. There was probably, or someone actually stood up for their spouse or their family member or someone they knew who was accused and got pulled into it.
And any number of things. I mean, people get very weird when they get into persecutions.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to go into it, Danielle, but, we see it around right now. It is
Yeah.
happening in the world right now. So, and it doesn't make sense. And one day people are going to realize that. But that's one of the weird things that human beings do. The trick is to stand out of that and to be an observer without getting pulled in. Because when you get drawn into what's going on around you, and you sort of, that's right, that's wrong, that's this, that's that, and casting judgment, it's taking your energy where you could be putting that into development, self-development, because that's the only person you can develop. And I was looking at something earlier today where somebody had listed off, you can, the key part for me was, if somebody's not awake, then you can't awaken them. It's not your job. It's not your role. They have their timing and you have yours. And I think that's an important distinction, because these days everybody seems to be wanting people around them to fit in their ideal. You have to agree with me. You got to think this way. Be authentic and be unique, so long as you fit into this box. And we've kind of lost the path here. We've lost the way of being who you are and allowing other people to be who they are. And the more you can do that, the more open your path is, because you're not wasting your time on distractions. And there's so many distractions around, and they're seductive. Like, you can get pulled into having to have an opinion on something, and it's like, but do you? What happens if you don't have an opinion on it? Then what?
I'm glad you brought it up, because this is true. So this is one of the features. Well, I say features. You can call it a bug, call it a feature, whatever you want to call it. People's passions are going to pull you in right now, because you're new and you're opening. What the big secret is, people don't realize they're manipulating spiritual energy around them. That's the big secret to magic. Everybody can literally do it. People just don't realize they're doing it. So that's probably something to look out for. You'll find, but you will find yourself more like aware of people's emotions, what they're putting out there. Because I was actually going to ask you the question of, even going like, because you like to tease your grandfather, right? You wear that Trump t-shirt, their vote for Trump t-shirt to tease your grandfather. And so what I was going to actually ask you was, compared to a few weeks ago, how do you feel now versus like seeing how people form their opinions?
What do you mean by forming, like, just
So like Michaela was saying, right? Like, there's so many people telling you to do things, or trying to get your attention, to agree with them, or to force you even to have an opinion, or even make you have an opinion. So a lot of times you get stuck and you start making a decision quickly, and you don't think about it. But now that you've been open and you're starting to feel there's an extra part of the world, now when you hear people talk about their opinions, like, in right politics, you can't miss it right now, right? Like, have you kind of found yourself having a different reaction when you see people either giving their speeches, or when you see an ad, or when or when you hear discussions?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, it's more along the lines of I kind of don't take it just right at face value, or anything. Like, I really, like, wait a second, there's doesn't necessarily feel right, and then I listen to more of it and other sides even, and draw more of a. I don't really listen to. I mean, I've never been one to really, like, especially in my past, like, I've gone through quite a few few things differently, right? So just even putting that together, going against the grain for a lot of things has been really different, like,
Yeah.
especially now, though.
Yeah, because I say this because you're going to notice it even more now strongly.
Yeah.
Is you're going to fear the words are not going to match the energy behind the words. And then you're going to kind of get it's almost going to feel, you're going to want to look at people like, like they've got like a third eye on their forehead and growing horns, because it's like, what are you talking about? Those words have nothing to do with what you're trying to get across.
Well, sometimes words are a shield, right? People throw them out, and it's a shield. It stops you from seeing what's behind. And it can be so interesting to watch. I mean, I do that in coaching all the time. When a new person comes and they tell me what they're looking for, it's never what they're looking for. I don't think it is ever what they actually want. It's what they think they want based on what other people have said. And when you dig down, and it does take some digging typically to find out, well, what really do you want to work on? It can take a couple of sessions to get there because they took the base value, the surface thing, the superficial words, and had that be something good. Like the obvious one is when somebody comes and says, I want to lose weight. It's not usually the issue. Like that's not it. It's why do you want to do that? Where did that idea come from? What result do you want to have? And who do you want to have it for? And that's an example of things that you're likely to see now. When people tell you something, you're going to be able to see behind that and say, well, yeah, okay, I hear you, but what do you mean really? Like what's actually the issue here? And you'll probably, I can't vouch for it 100% because I'm not on your path, but you will probably find that you start getting more acuity with this. You start getting more aware of the duality of what somebody's saying versus what they actually mean. And it might not be intentional on their part at all. I think it frequently isn't. It's just that we get distracted by superficial stuff. And that's very easy to do. And it seems important at the time. But, if you ask yourself, well, is this going to matter in 6 months' time? Is it going to matter in 5 years' time? Chances are the answer is nope, nope. And in that case, maybe you don't want to be distracted by it. Now, if it is going to be important, okay, then maybe you need to look a little more. But that will start to become more of a question rather than a just drawn into things. At least that's what I think you're going to be experiencing, which again is kind of fun because you start to see layers. And it's just, ooh,
Yes, when the layers start to reveal themselves.
yeah. It's like, oh, you think that, huh? But and you have to approach it not exactly head on, typically, because people really do think what they're telling you is accurate, and it's not, it's off. Like Danielle was saying, you can tell it doesn't match.
It's actually kind of when you said layers, it kind of reminded me. Next time you're visiting your dad there, and you get to see his shop, and he's working on a robot there, give yourself a little chance to let it flow for you, because you've done a lot of robotics troubleshooting in your time, right?
Yeah.
So think about now if you could see these multiple layers where it would have helped. Like, because there's like you were pretty good, because it's a material world thing, right? But you're gonna start finding there's those subtle layers of all that extra now, where you can see the disruptions or at least feel the disruptions happening, and then it kind of helps with your troubleshooting, and it because there's gonna be moments where you're gonna go, I knew the answer, and you don't know why you know the answer, and
Which
it comes
doesn't
from
matter,
not
by the
knowing.
way.
What's that, Michaela?
Which doesn't matter. You don't have to know how you know. You
No.
just know.
Yeah. What is it? You don't need to know who saved your life and how, as long as they saved your life, you're alive.
It makes sense. So I'll have to pay attention to that going into it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for saying those words because Danielle, you said earlier about paying attention to things. I'm going to
Yeah.
offer a slightly different perspective and
Okay.
say, rather than paying attention, which is a very active,
Mhm.
conscious, putting energy into it kind of thing, it's just have it in your awareness, have it as a possibility. So you're open to seeing it or hearing it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You just have an awareness. You don't have to like pay attention to everything because that will get exhausting in a hurry.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's like
Yeah.
using willpower for things. It's a lot of um grr, and
Yeah.
it shouldn't be that hard, right? But having it in your awareness, knowing that this thing is possible, this thing can appear, it's enough. If you have
Mm.
that awareness, it'll show up.
Yeah. And it's good that you added that on, because I was almost going to be guilty of telling her to do the thing of, putting your sensory filters on. Because now that I've told you to look for something, okay, what am I looking for? What are the qualities I'm looking for? And then you start applying the filters, and then you start missing the things that don't match that you're filtering for.
Yeah, it's too much work.
Yeah.
Don't work so hard. Just the awareness is fine. The rest comes.
Just let the awareness go. Got it.
Because your subconscious mind does a lot of wonderful stuff. You set your intention and your subconscious mind will do it. That's one of the big things, right? As you go on in life, right? Because you've heard this episode in the first season. As long as your subconscious mind knows what to do, it'll do it. Your conscious mind teaches your subconscious mind new things and what you prioritize. And then your subconscious mind does most of the work. Most of the things you do during the day, your subconscious mind is the one doing it and not you. So you don't narrow its abilities by giving expectations. And that's going to be an interesting thing to grow into, is understanding that.
Yeah, well, that's big order right there.
Yeah. No, like ever since we started having this conversation, honestly, everything's been getting louder. Like feeling wise, everything. So
you're opening up some more?
I think what you're saying is the subconscious mind is now playing catch up. Yes. But now my subconscious mind is picking up on things that you're saying and is now even more playing catch up.
Mm. Yeah. It's funny in this one, just to help Michaela out. So her bracelet, what was it? The obsidian one?
No, the opal.
The opal one, that's what it was. Opal had a dragon in it. Because while her chakras were opening, I could see a dragon moving around, working with her. So, and I bet you Michaela's like, why didn't you lead with that? That was a good one. Yeah.
I'm very fond of dragons.
Yeah. Michaela just happens to love dragons, so it's fine. But yeah, so whether or not you'll ever recognize the dragon or feel it or sense it, it's at work because you're feeling the work.
And again, it doesn't matter. Willa's going to find what's there for her to find. And she could be ahead of both of us in a second or not. And who knows where that is anyway. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's not a competition, but it's also, don't feel that you're in a stuck place on the path. You're wherever you are. And that can shift at any given time. It's not linear. Oh. What I'm trying to say is this is not a linear thing. You're going to be forward, backward, that way, over there, whoop, whoop, And
I was going to add that too, right? It's the time doesn't matter in this because, you could be starting now, and then next week you could be further ahead than me and Michaela are. Because you just needed to be closed for a while, and now that you've hit everything you needed to hit, bang, you're open.
Well, also think of an egg that boils, right? You put the egg in the water and you heat it up, starts to boil. Doesn't look any different. Nothing's changing. Whoop, there it is. It's completely changed.
Yep.
So, it's the process isn't always obvious, is what I'm trying to say.
Well,
and again, it's another area not to get stuck on, right?
Yeah. Because it's actually one of my experiences.
However it looks.
It's one of my experiences, actually. I went through in the last, we'll call it the last 5 years, where my chakras opened up little by little, and they were already pretty open, but I had more energy to access to, but I didn't have access to it yet because I had things to deal with. And then once I dealt with them, it was like, okay, now we can open up a little bit more. And then I dealt with a little bit more stuff, and it's like, okay, now we can open up a little bit more, because there was stuff I had to do first before I could deal with having that opening.
I'll tell you what I would love to know is, Willa, what questions come up for you? What can you ask or talk about that you'd like to bring up? Because this podcast really, I'm always able to talk. Danielle's always able to talk, but this one's more for you anyway. So,
in terms of questions,
Try
there's
this. Don't worry about questions. What comes to your mind?
comes to my mind right now is I want to know more. I want to know what I should dive into next. Like what should I look at next? Because right now I did look at the crystals and stuff like that, but I'm curious about the incense. I'm curious about sound. I'm curious about what other people's experiences are in this.
Okay. Well, I will send you the Witch's Circle, and
Yeah.
that will be a really good introduction to all kinds of things, places, people. So that'll be fun.
Out of
That should answer
curiosity.
a chunk of that.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, while you were saying that and trying to come up with a question, what did you see in your mind?
I don't really know how to describe it.
Okay, I'll tell you this. What I
Okay,
saw
if
while
you
you were
did,
talking
hang
was a
on,
plant pudding. What's that?
hang on, Willa, if you did know how to describe it, what would that be? Just try.
Just curiosity, excitement.
Okay.
I was seeing a bud trying to sprout while she was talking. But and I was wondering if that's what you were seeing in your head because I was getting a strong impression of it.
Yeah, like I don't know, some opening up more, I guess. So yeah. Anyway,
It's funny because you're going to start finding yourself having these conversations and they're going to last longer and they're going to be smooth. They're going to flow more smoothly.
I think it's because I'm trying to still rein in
Yeah.
some of it. Like I'm still trying to control a little bit of it, but I shouldn't, is what's going through my mind.
Can I invite you to change the language from shouldn't to don't
Yeah.
need to?
Yes. Don't
Because
need to.
shouldn't is a judgment. Don't need to is discarding of that judgment.
I think what it
Danielle,
is I'm still in that old mindset, right? I'm still transitioning out of that old mindset that I had previously. And I think that's what's hampering me a little bit in terms of that regard. Because there are some things that I felt like I wanted to say, but then I shouldn't because I was crossing into that threshold of okay, now I'm just letting it out versus not. And am I going to start sounding terminology I used when I was with you crazy? But
Yeah.
that's not what I should be looking at, and that's something I'm noticing now more than I've been speaking with you, and it's just been like right now, as you can tell, my filter kind of dropped a little bit, and I've just started
Yeah.
rambling.
Yeah. You gave him a kind of flashbacks to when we started talking. Because that was my thing to say. I'm just trying to not have control anymore of everything and trying not to control everything.
I thought
Trying
it
not
was
to use the
very
words.
cute. It was very cute that you tried because
Mm.
every now and then he'd say, and to bring the
Yeah.
discussion back to, and I'm like, yeah, you could go there for a sentence or two, and then whoosh, up we go again.
Yeah.
Because that's not how I operate. It's not how I can operate, actually.
No, but
Like
you know
I
what?
totally can't do it that way.
Yeah. But you know what? When you say that, because even I think about it when I do it, it's like I'm trying to grab the flow, put it back in a direction, but then yeah, it snaps back to where it was,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I do it very rarely now, or I try not to do it at all because it's like the trying to deviate it from its course, and it's
No, you're doing very well. You don't do that now. You were doing it a lot when we first started.
Mhm.
It was amusing to me because there was no way it was going to go that way. But
Yeah.
you were trying.
Well, I was trying
And
to be
it
a
can look
responsible
like that
podcaster.
too, Willa. It can look like that too, where you keep trying to do a thing and you try to do it and you try to do it. And it's when you stop trying that it's like, oh, okay. I was pushing a door that needed to be pulled. It just didn't work.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe that joke. Look
I'm
what I
starting to
pulled.
notice that.
The door you got to push. Yeah. What was that, Will?
I was starting to notice a bit. Like I said, I dropped it for a second, and I just started rambling. Um, so like you were saying, I stopped pushing against the door for a minute.
Hmm.
I just gotta start letting that go more.
Well, it's fun to see what comes up when you just let it be.
Mm.
So if you're trying to be in control, then, the first thing is you're not in control. So, that's lesson number one. You're not in control. None of us are. That's the thing. There's nothing to be in control of.
The thing is that you're taught from an early age to be in control, to be
Uh-huh.
like everybody, like you have to be in control of your life, you have to be in control of your future, you have to like predict what you want to do, you have to put, even when you're in school, you have to figure out what you want to be when you grow up before you even leave school. So they sit there and everybody kind of teaches you going down the line to try and force control into something that you really can't control. Because even in my life, I was put into boxes that I was supposed to meet. I had goals I had to achieve. I had, endless amount of requirements I must fulfill. But it was only when I was very miserable for a very, very long time for a lot of reasons. And it wasn't until I actually let go of some of those expectations and box filling that I really felt much more happier with my life and where I was. And yeah, it upset a bunch of people because it wasn't what they expected. It wasn't what um, they wanted. It wasn't what they had envisioned for me. But also at the same time, it wasn't me. And
That's the key, is you said it upset people because it wasn't what they expected or wanted for you, but that's their lens, it's their problem. That was never anything about you, that was them. You just happened to be on the receiving end.
yes, and I also felt like I didn't want to let down those expectations, and I always tried to be something I wasn't, and for the longest time, and it really put me in a bad place for a very long time. And
It
but
does.
now that I've even let go of that part, it was such a big difference. But now this is like a whole new ball game that I've entered, and it's like, okay, yeah.
In terms of human design, you have ways that your energy flows and things that work really well for you. And then you have things about you that other people find difficult because they don't understand or they can't control. And so when there's an area like that, they'll put stories onto you of you talk too much, you're too loud, you're too this, too that, especially for women. You're too much, too much, too much. And so the recipient of that, typically you get this as a child, you take that at face value because that's what a child knows. And it's like, oh, okay, so I have to be this way in order to be okay. And it's a very basic instinct because if you're not okay, if the other people don't like you, they're going to throw you out of the group and then the saber-toothed tiger is going to eat you. Your survival is at risk as a child. So you do what you need to do in order to appease those people. And you try and be what they tell you you're supposed to be. And it's a very normal, in very heavy quotes, way to be. And it's offloading that is where you get your freedom to be who you actually are, who you're here to be, and to realize that there's nothing wrong with how you're designed, that there's nothing wrong with how you show up in the world. So if you're very talkative, cool. If you're not, cool. It doesn't matter because all the things that go to make you are correct. There's nothing wrong there. So other people may have stories, but it's their problem, it's their lens, right? Like I could look at you and say, I really think you should have black hair. Black hair would look so good. Does it mean you should? No. It means I like black hair, probably, right? Like it means I have a story about that and it's actually got nothing to do with you. So you could do your hair black and it might look awful and you're left with this thing that you did thinking it was correct and it wasn't because it wasn't about you. It's the lens of the person talking. It's their worldview. It's their point. Go back to the politics for a second. And, if you're talking to somebody on the right, well, they're going to have strong opinions about certain things that you say. Likewise, on the left, like, you know what to say. If you're in the middle of a Trump rally, you know what you can say that's okay, and you know what you can say that would get you into a world of trouble. Likewise, go into a Harris rally and you'll have the same thing. And when you get your Canadian elections, good luck, because you're going to have the same thing going there too. And,
So with four or five parties.
but you have to navigate other people's lens without taking it on board as something you have to do something about.
No, that's more surviving is not necessarily living.
Well, no,
Mm.
but as a kid, that's what you need to do. So the limitations that we have as adults and the imposter syndrome and all that kind of thing, that all comes from learning as a child and what you make it mean. And a kid has this much life experience. So what you can make things mean, there's not a lot of range, but it becomes part of who you are. You operate from that. And unless you look at it again as an adult, you're always going to operate from that. So when somebody pokes that particular nerve, all the stuff comes up. Have you seen somebody behaving like they're a 3-year-old that lost their toy? Like they're just out of control, kind of hissy fit stuff. Well, that's because you are, in fact, looking at a 3-year-old in an adult body, but what got triggered was stuff they laid down when they were little and they haven't looked at it yet. And people don't know that that's what they're doing, but this is my wheelhouse. This is what I study. This is my jam, and I see it. I'm a behavior analyst, so I see when people are in their childhood trauma, they behave like a child. It comes up. So the interesting piece to take from that, I believe, is to know you don't have to be anything anybody else thinks you should at all. In fact, probably better that you're not, because they don't know what you need to do.
No, of course, and that is something I had to deal with quite a few people about. So it took a while.
It can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's funny because you'd almost think this would be a good point to end the episode on, but it's not, apparently. I said that's a good way to hit into the flow. You're new to things, be yourself. It was a good talk. And it's like there's still something else. There's still
Do
something
we
else
have it
hanging
to
there.
be continued?
You know what? They agree with you. There will be a follow-up conversation.
Well, I think that would be cool, because I, for one, would very much like to know what you, Willa, do after this conversation. Like, what rings accurately for you and what doesn't, and whatever you want to share. But I'm just curious to see, was there any value for you? And you won't know that right away, but be
I
interested to know.
I can say that there's already been some value because, like I said, just with us talking and me letting go, like even just letting go recently, as you noticed near the end, I started talking a lot more smoother and faster.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of going more with the flow on that. Immediately, I just that whole transition right there between the start of this to the end of this has been vastly different, right? So I'm letting more of my subconscious just let it go type thing. And that was something I probably wouldn't have been doing for a while after, like before, like even before this, right? So
A while back, I was doing theta healing, and at the time, I shared an office with my husband, and I thought he's going to think I'm completely nuts. So I kind of poked my head around the desk and said, are you okay with what I'm doing over here? And he just said, in this house, we embrace the crazy. And he went back to his thing, and I was like, okay, now I can just get back into what I was doing.
Yeah.
And that barrier that I had imagined wasn't there. It's fine. And that's the kind of freedom that I needed. And finally I'm in a place where I have that. But it's so nice to not worry about, if somebody thinks I'm crazy, then okay, fine. And then what? Makes no damn difference whatsoever.
Yeah. I find it funny coming, you know, that you were given that your husband channels all his books and knows intuitively how to use crystals. It seems weird that you had that barrier.
Ah, but no, that barrier was before
Uh,
he started doing the books, but he hadn't, crystals weren't a thing at that point for him. No, and now he's totally there. Yeah, he's Willa, he's got more than 30 books out, and they're all channeled. He doesn't plot them, doesn't have an outline, none of that. And it's fantasy or it's science fiction. And they like he gets invited on panels to talk about them. They're really good, but he just channels them. So he doesn't know what's coming next until he writes it. And I talk that way. I don't know what's coming next until I say it. So you can imagine the household, right?
yeah,
Unpredictability is great though.
yeah. But it's good because that's something I didn't know about you guys as a couple before. So there you go.
Hmm.
Learned something new about Michaela.
Yeah, no, there's all kinds of learning on that journey. Sometimes, that's the other thing is you can be friends with a person
Mhm.
and you think this about them and they think that about you, and actually maybe, both of you are blue, but you're wearing pink kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you both have that camouflage going on and you're each missing something really valuable. So peeling off those layers and getting rid of the camouflage.
Yes.
Interesting to see who's there when the camouflage is gone.
Yeah, because some people don't tend to stick around either when the camouflage does disappear.
It's okay.
Mhm. That just means they weren't, the right fit for you.
Well, it also means that maybe what they came to do was done and they're on to the next thing, you know.
Right.
People
Actually, yeah.
come for a season or they come for a lifetime or maybe they're there for a week. Like there's different things that people bring to your life, and sometimes it's a lesson that you need to learn that's not very fun to learn, but they were the ones to bring it to you. And then, this is another area where people get very bogged down on rules about how long somebody has to be there and what it has to look like. And marriage is one of the weirdest things for that. Honestly, it really is. It's the only contract in life that you're not expected to want to get out of at some point, right? Like you sign a contract for a house. It's okay when you sell it, or you sign a rental thing. It's okay when you go somewhere else, but then you decide this relationship probably after a relatively short space of time, and then that's supposed to be a forever thing because why? Like really, why? Nobody ever has an adequate answer for that. But they have opinions and people will take sides and they get all bent out of shape over stuff. And it's like, but why? Can you just explain to me why this must be a forever thing? It's interesting. Sometimes it isn't. And so maybe sometimes it is, but why the judgment? So people come, people go. It's okay.
Yeah. You know what? This makes me want to add this. If there is one benefit that you really get from opening up, is the understanding of life, how it flows, and it's comforting. Whereas before, if you got divorced, you would have struggled with going, why is this divorce? Why I'm useless. I suck. I can't keep a relationship going together. Why did my friend leave? Why did I lose this? And you get mad
Or
at
you
yourself and
project it
you're
onto them.
yeah. But then you realize, well, these things all had lessons to teach you. And that's part of how life is. And it was going to end at
Well,
some point.
also sometimes it's just a sign of evolution, right? Like
Yeah.
you've evolved past that stage and that person may have
Mm.
evolved differently or whatever, whether it's a marriage, a friendship or whatever. That's what we do as human beings. And not everybody evolves at the same time, same direction, da da da. So, when people head off in different directions, it's okay. It doesn't mean anything about you. It just means that they weren't here for this part of your journey. And that's okay. That's fine, because it's much more sticky if they hang around and they're not actually the right people to be there. That gets in the way. So it might not feel like fun at the time, but if you can sort of bear that in mind, that there's no rule, again, that says this person must be here forever or for a given period of time.
No, that makes sense.
So it's very, literally you feel lighter when you realize that it's like, it doesn't mean any of the things we make it mean. And you don't have to be upset with that person either, because you're the movie star. You're the main character in your movie, and they're a bit player. They came in, they did their role, they exit the stage. It's still your movie. So you get to decide how you're going to play your role, and you get to decide who's in it and who isn't. It's just a whole other way of looking at it, and it's kind of fun. Now, you're a bit player in other people's movies, right? So again, the one that you want to really focus on is yours. Because
No,
that's
that makes
the
sense.
star.
Yeah. And that's a big message for 2025. Be you. Because yes, you are the lead in your own movie, and you also play a role in other people's movies. But you play a small role, you do what you need to do in their movies, and then when your role is done, you continue on in your movie or some new person's movie. And this is important, especially going forward, especially since we're in, because this is going to be airing in 2025, and 2025 is the year of, again, spiritually moving forward. So be who you are, because who you are has a role, it has a time and a place in other people's lives. So be you. And that's I think we'll end it there. Be you. That's the one. So thank you, Willa, for coming on. It was a good
Well,
conversation.
thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Lovely to meet you.
Yes, lovely to meet you too. It was great.
And I've sent an email to you, Danielle,
Okay.
but to pass on to Willa.
All right. So do we have an assignment for this episode?
No?
Yeah, because I wasn't thinking of one either.
No, I think whoever's listening can take from it what works for them.
Yes.
Let's go with the no rules thing.
Yes. Absolutely. All righty. Maybe it's part of the new era that we're not doing assignments anymore. We'll see.
I don't know. This is only one session. Maybe there's
That's right.
assignments sometimes.
Well, we have foregone assignments before. So
there is that little element of control just sneaking back in,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yep.
Maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it isn't.
Right. All right. So on that note, I'm Daniel Dubois.
I'm Michaela Gaffinstone.
And until next time. Oh, yes. Willa? Say goodbye.
Until next time. Bye.
All right. Until next time.